see better in the physical world, local optometrist Dr. Margaret Placentra Johnston felt the need to help people toward clearer vision of a different sort. The result of that is her book, Faith Beyond Belief, Stories of Good People Who Left Their Church Behind, published by Quest Books last October, and gold winner of the 2013 Nautilus Book Award. Yeah. Nautilus motto is Better Books for a Better World.
Thank you. This part was not planned, but I do want to take a minute to thank the audience who decided to take a chance on this rather impromptu and maybe not very polished presentation. Thank you for taking a chance on us. We're trying to make it fun best we can. So I'm wondering, did you ever stop to really think? There were a few things about the different religions we belong to that really merit some further thought. You know, going back just a few hundred years ago, people would be born, live their entire lives, and die in the same town, never having traveled more than a few miles outside of it. Everyone they knew was of the same culture and probably held the same religious beliefs. There was no internet, no television, no radio, or even newspaper, and very few travelers. Back then, people would be aware that other cultures and other religions existed, but it was common and acceptable to perceive their own as being central and to see others as not counting quite as much. It was almost as if those other people and cultures were not really real. Back then, an insular belief system was excusable or even appropriate because people didn't know any better. These days, with global communications as they are, we need only turn on a computer or television to be immediately thrown up against people and cultures from all over the world. Suddenly, we are forced to compare our own customs and beliefs against those different cultures. Unless we work really hard to continue viewing those people as totally other, continue seeing them as not counting quite as much, we will come to include their perspective into our own ever-broadening one. Unless we work really hard to maintain an insular and provincial worldview, we will expand our consciousness to include people with different beliefs, and even those with no beliefs, into our common humanity. But some religions today are doing just the opposite. They work really hard at maintaining and presenting that insular worldview. Our religion is the only one that's right. We need to convert the world to our beliefs. Everyone must follow the rules of our holy book. Did you know that every culture and society in every part of the world from the beginning of time formed some type of religion or spiritual practice? What were all these people seeking? These religions vary tremendously in the rites and rituals they've developed, in the beliefs they espoused, and even in the view of who or what they thought the divine or the ultimate reality might be. And almost every one of them thought that their belief system was the best one, or the only one that was right. Until the advent of global communications, this was a reasonable conclusion. But with the ever-broadening perspectives brought to us by our postmodern world, we no longer have an excuse for maintaining such provincialism. These days, many people are choosing a more transformative response. They may or may not reject the traditional religion, but they do reject religious triumphalism and provincialism. They have expanded their horizons to include a broader religious and spiritual perspective. To do this, they had to start by asking the hard questions about the religion that was handed down to them by their tribe. Could there really be a good God who loves only Christians? Why would he exclude the millions of people born before Christ, or in parts of the world where Christ is unknown still today? Does the Bible really contain the full truth? If so, what about these other books of the Bible the Emperor Constantine suppressed back in the 3rd and 4th century? People who embrace a broader spiritual truth have had to realize something important. That every local culture since the beginning of time has developed the beliefs to explain the unknown, rites and rituals to commemorate the need to connect with something greater than themselves. People who have gone through the spiritual maturation process accept that each different religion contributes something important to our understanding, and that whatever the ultimate reality or the divine or whatever you want to call it is something much larger than any one religion can describe. People whose faith goes beyond belief also tend to embrace a deeper sense of humility. They appreciate forgiveness, community, gratitude, and acceptance in a deeper and more authentic way than most. But the most salient trait of people, those whose faith goes beyond belief, is their attitude of oneness. They feel connected to everyone and everything. They include all people, all animals, the environment, and the unknown into their circle of connectedness. That is the way we can recognize spiritual maturity, not in how certain a person is about his or her specific beliefs, but how well they deal with our inevitable uncertainties, how well they appreciate the beautiful mysteries of our existence, and how well they include others with different beliefs into their common humanity. My own relation to this truth has been a twisted one. It is described in my book, Faith Beyond Belief, Stories of Good People Who Left Their Church Behind. But Faith Beyond Belief is not about me. It is an amalgam of the works of 12 notable theorists, 12 experts who have described the road to this type of spiritual maturity. They came from different fields, different parts of the world, and even different centuries. But they all showed that spiritual maturity is not about specific beliefs. It is more about recognizing our common connection to a greater reality. But my book, Faith Beyond Belief, is mainly a connection of true stories from 10 real-life people which were chosen to illustrate steps on the spiritual development path. I will read you just a very few words from the introduction. Some 20 years ago, I ran across a passage in a book that turned my rather pat view of the world upside down. Stage 4, men and women will enter into religion to approach the mystery. The intervening years between that reading and the production of this book have been filled with an internal tug of war between two opposite reactions. I was caught between the conscious struggle to dismiss the spiritual development stages as nonsense and the power of that model to captivate me as truth. Before long, I realized that the concept of spiritual growth had permeated my being and would forever color my understanding of the world and my place in it. Over time, I noted that few others interpret world events through the lens of spiritual development theory. In fact, no one even seems to call it by that name, yet. But a solid theory with numerous contributing theorists it seems to be. And from a bird's eye view, one can see that they all have said more or less the same thing. Some say that we need not dissect religion as specifically as I do in this book. And were it not for the divisive and untruthful imposition of religion in its least mature expressions into our political and economic arenas, I would not have written about religious belief in this way. But given the viciously contentious factors in action today, hijacking religion as a political weapon, it is time we get down off our high horse about the sanctity of religion and talk about it in an intelligent manner, one that respects our rational intellect, but also acknowledges the unknowable aspects of our existence. In my heart, I can feel our fractured society crying out for this message. At this moment in America, there is one faction of the traditionally religious that thinks they predominate, tries to apply the rules of their holy book to the rest of us. But our nation is no longer comprised of the descendants of the original pilgrims. Our nation now includes representatives from almost every religion and every spiritual practice known to man. It also includes people who don't hold to any religion. If we are truly a nation of the people, by the people, and for the people, we can't focus our laws around the beliefs of some of the people, or the rules of one holy book. We can't choose leaders with a worldview so small that they think they are justified in imposing their limited and specific belief system on everyone. It is time that conventional society open up its reasoning processes and allow that broader spiritual acumen to develop. It is time we embrace a bigger spiritual story than what the traditional organized religions teach. We are not Christians or Jews or Muslims or even Americans. We are humans, citizens of a large and beautiful universe of connectivity. We were put here not to assure our own salvation in some dubious afterlife, but to maximize the opportunities that abound in the here and the now. To steward our resources and care for our planet so future generations may enjoy it. To put our own special gifts to work in service of others, especially those who cannot care for themselves. To see the vast beauty in the star-studded sky, the music of rain on a roof, the scent of a flower. To see eternity in the eyes of a loved one. What kind of a God would fault any one of us for that?